Now, the program to help you and your family get fit and stay fit with a biblical foundation without a one-size-fits-all plan. It's Faith Family Fitness with your host, Full Armor Sports and national champion coach, Jason Lupo.
Welcome to Faith Family Fitness. Welcome back from the holidays, the Christmas holidays, and we're on to the new year. And with the new year, oftentimes comes New Year's resolutions. And so today we're talking about New Year's resolutions, but we're also talking about the Daniel fast. It's a fast that I've done for this will be my fourth year. And I'm going to go over some of the stuff. I'm going to go over why I do it, and why I think that it's important. And then we're also going to talk about getting started on your fitness journey, which has been a topic of conversation in this show for a number of weeks over the last couple months. And so there's plenty of good information to go back and listen to as well. But we're just going to briefly cover it because, hey, it's New Year's Eve and we're about to ring in 2023, which is crazy to think that another year has gone by. It seems like it goes by just a little bit quicker after the pandemic that we've had in the past. Whereas those couple years that we were sitting in the middle of that pandemic, time seemed rather slow. And so we're moving through a little quicker, or at least the perception of quickness. And so we're going to talk about the new year, what to expect, and starting on our New Year's resolutions. Maybe it's losing weight, maybe it's coming closer with God, maybe it's picking up a new activity, any one of those things, spending more time with your kids. It doesn't necessarily have to be fitness or health focused. And so we're going to talk about all that stuff when we come back after this short break.
Thanks for listening to Faith Family Fitness, a presentation of Full Armor Sports Teams. Teamwork is at the core of any successful organization. Full Armor Sports, led by national champion coach Jason Lupo, is now registering for school year sports programs. Full Armor is a multi-sport teaching and training organization with homeschool options available. All of Full Armor sports coaches are certified and experts in their field. Full Armor's coaches combine for over 500 years of coaching experience. They will help your kids gain fundamental skills, the concepts of teamwork, essential to being successful throughout their lives. Multiple sports options are available now, from swimming, softball and volleyball, to powerlifting and youth MMA. The faith-based approach to making sports fun and productive are a great choice for your kids at Full Armor Sports Teams. Learn more at fullarmorsportsteams.com.
Welcome back to Faith Family Fitness on 100.7 The Word. Today's focus, it's New Year's Eve. We're looking forward to 2023. And with that, a lot of times comes this idea of New Year's resolutions. Why we decide that the only time that we can make a commitment is on the 1st of January is beyond me, but that's what we've done for years and years and years, probably centuries. Had this idea that new year, new beginnings, which I don't necessarily love because I think that we can make a commitment to either our health or whatever we are proposing at any time during the year. And so don't think that just because it's January 1, this is commitment time. It's not necessarily the fact. I know that a lot of churches at the same time do Vision Sundays towards the beginning of the year as well. And so I do like the time of thinking and looking on the future and posting a vision and this idea of making a commitment. But I do want everybody to keep in mind that you don't have to wait till January 1 to do this every year. You can do it at any given time. You can cast a vision on your life, on your health, or on the vision of the church at any time. It doesn't have to be in January. And you can do it multiple times a year. So don't think that, you're limited to just this one period of the month of January where you can make a commitment. But oftentimes what happens every single year is the resolution bust, right? We set these high goals for our health, for our well-being at the beginning of January, And by mid-January, we've fallen off the wagon. And so we've got to make sure that the commitment that we make, and I don't love this idea of goal setting. I could talk a whole show about why I don't love goal setting, because I prefer behavior change models instead of necessarily setting goals. And some of it comes with setting goals, and I think goal setting is important. But I don't think it's the number one task that we should do with our kids. And I know I'm going to create controversy with that statement. So I'll talk about it in another episode, but we're not going to go into it now. But anyways, we have to make sure that our resolution is, number one, attainable, and it fits into our livelihoods and into our lives. And I think that's a huge component, because I think sometimes we have unrealistic expectations when we go to set New Year's resolutions. And so we've got to make sure that it's attainable. But I think a big portion of the new year and these resolutions is this idea of self-control. And I think that is truly what comes to the forefront, that we can learn about ourselves, is having self-control, is having control over our own bodies, over what we choose to do. And sometimes it's a matter of just reminding ourselves that we're in control of our bodies and our choices. God's in ultimate control, but we make a lot of choices ourselves. Also, not going into that debate of free choice. We'll save that for another episode another time. But anyways, going back to the key point of today, I want to talk about the Daniel fast. I want to talk about the Daniel fast. I've done it. This will be my 4th year doing it. I do it every year, and I do it for a number of reasons. The first reason is I want to fast. I want to grow my relationship with God, and I want that dedicated time. I want that commitment to come through. And I think a fast is a perfect way to do it. And so a number of years ago, when I was looking at what I wanted to do, I spent a lot of time researching and praying and kind of getting an idea of what my fast would look like. And I settled on this idea of the Daniel fast. And this is well before, that's become very popular in the last handful of years. And so this was slightly before it became super popular. And I want to read where this Daniel fast comes from. And so we are in the book of Daniel, chapter 1. And basically the king has chosen a handful of handsome, young, strong men. The Bible says without blemish. So we think of these like pretty boys, right? To come into his service. And with that, they are allotted delicacies and wine from the king's table as they go through this 3 years of training that they're about to embark on behalf of the king. And so Daniel, this is verse 8, it's in the New King James Version. Use whatever version of the Bible you feel comfortable with. But Daniel proposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's delicacies, nor the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the chief of eunuchs that he might not defile himself. Now God had brought Daniel into the favor and goodwill of the chief, and the chief said to Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who has appointed your food and drink. For why should he see your faces looking worse than the young men who are your age? That would endanger my head before the king. And so Daniel said to the steward, he said, test me for 10 days, and let them give us vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then let our appearances be examined before you, and the appearance of the young men who ate the portion of the king's delicacies, and as you see fit, so deal with your servants. So he consented with them and tested them for 10 days. And the result, this is in verse 15, and at the end of the 10 days, their features appeared better and fatter in flesh than all the young men who ate the portion of the king's delicacies. Thus the steward took away the portion of their delicacies and the wine that they were to drink, and gave them vegetables. Now, I think, number one, it's really important to point out that I do not believe that a vegan diet is necessarily way healthier than a diet with delicacies at that time, the meats and the wines. I don't think that it's to a greater extent way healthier. I truly believe that when we're looking at the book of Daniel, this is God's hand at work. And we see it throughout the entire book of Daniel. God intervening in situations in Daniel's life in this role of service to the king that is not necessarily blanket looked at as like, this is a healthier diet. And I don't even believe that to be so in the modern sense, even though I think as time goes by, year after year, yes, this Daniel fast does appear way healthier than the way I typically eat, and the way a lot of us typically eat, because our food quality has been such diminished. And so the Daniel fast truly is a vegan diet, right? So no animal products, no animal byproducts, no milk, no eggs, none of that, no meat. All right. And then you go to another degree, which is no sugar, no yeast, right? The Bible says water and vegetables. And so if you want to take it to a completely, crazy sense of just water and vegetables, go for it. Plenty of ideas as to whether or not vegetables includes a lot of the other elements of grains and stuff that we commonly see still allowed in today's Daniel fast if you were to read books and stuff like that. I also think it's extremely critical to point out that this Daniel fast, if you go online and research it, and you just research Daniel fast, you're going to find a lot of secular material that is not rooted in biblical sense. And that's fine. There's plenty of good resources that might be secular when it comes to health. But I also think that we need to not fool ourselves, and we need to set a tone for what the fast is. And so when you're doing something like a Daniel fast, you're probably going to have health benefits. You're probably going to lose some weight, right? I've lost weight every single year I've done it. And so you need to be honest with yourself and with God what you're doing the fast for. Are you doing this fast because you want to lose weight? Because keep in mind, this is January 1st. Or are you truly doing this fast to fast and become closer and build a stronger relationship with God and spend that time in prayer? And so I think that's a point that you have to make sure that you know why you are going to embark on a fast like the Daniel fast, and be honest. Are you doing this for the pure health benefits, which there is, or are you doing this to truly fast and grow that relationship with God? And so when you've come up with that idea of why you're fasting, it's a good starting point. But I would just really caution the fact that you're going to find a lot of information as this fast continues to grow and become more and more popular. I know there's plenty of churches that are doing this fast together around the country that has also become more and more popular every single year. But I think that's enough of fasts and the Daniel fast. I strongly encourage you to take the time to at least do the research on fasting for whatever kind of fast it might be, whether it be, you decide to embark on a water fast, or you decide to embark on a Daniel fast. And we're not talking intermittent fasting here. There's a clear difference and clear difference in scientific background. We're talking about intermittent fasting, which is basically, we could do an entire episode on it, but it's not eating for a certain portion of time and then only eating within a certain window of time. That's become more and more popular in this health crazed world that is used to kind of try to trick and adjust the body's metabolic system into losing the maximal amount of weight given this intermittent fasting. So that's a whole different topic, but I'm talking about religious fasts in what you choose to do. So we're on to the New Year's 2023. Crazy to say. I'm going to mess up writing checks for at least the first 3 months. I'm sure all of you will mess up your checks a handful of times as well. Right in 2022 becomes a habit of ours. But we're also on this idea of resolutions. And so this is Faith Family Fitness. I know many of you are going to choose to have a New Year's resolution in regards to your fitness or weight loss journey. And so I'm going to leave you with a couple really critical tips today. And all of this we've discussed in detail over the last, couple months. And so you can go back and listen to a lot of that stuff on our website, faithfamilyfit.org. You can also look us up on Amazon, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those podcast channels. You can find our past episodes. But when it comes to our fitness journey, the number one big thing is start small, right? Start small, start attainable. Don't think just because you've never worked out in the last year and a half, you're sitting on your couch and you decide that you're going to change your fitness journey for next year. Don't try going to the gym for 3 hours on January 2nd. All right. The gyms are going to be packed on the first week of January too. So, be warned if you don't have a home gym or a gym that's a little bit smaller, the gyms are going to be packed and you're going to want to go out and work out for an extended period of time, but start small. All right. Start small, consult with your healthcare provider. That's one of our little disclaimers. So y'all don't come back at me, but start small. And I would warn you too, because we just talked about the Daniel fast. If you're going to embark on a fast and you're going to change the dietary component to an extreme amount, you also need to take that into account with your exercise and fitness, because you don't want to be doing both at the same time, right? So if you're an untrained individual, meaning you haven't been to the gym in a very long time, don't decide that on January 1st, you're going to start a Daniel fast and a crazy exercise routine, right? Let your body adapt to one before you start the other. That's just in terms of general practices to make sure that, you're not going to get injured or your health is not going to suffer in a negative way. But once you've done and you've started small, we're going to have gradual growth. So over the course of the next month, you're going to slowly increase the amount of exercise that you're taking on board every single week. And we have to look back and I would say set the plan before you start, right? And that kind of goes back to that goal setting idea. But we're setting the plan before we start. And so look back and go, okay, I'm going to start on January 1st or January 2nd, my new fitness routine. We need to carefully analyze in our lives what that looks like, right? If you have children, if you have a spouse, if you have a job, if you have school, whatever it is, sit back and look and go, okay, this is what I can afford to do. And I'm not saying afford in a monetary sense. I'm saying afford in a stress sense, in a time sense, right? And so, don't say on January 1st, I'm going to start an exercise program that's going to take 12 hours of my time every week when you can't find the 12 hours to fit into your life to make that happen, because you will fall off the wagon quickly. So let's be realistic in our expectations of what we are able to accomplish and afford in our lives. So make that plan before you start would be my biggest advice to everybody out here is make that plan before you start. So know what you want to do and make sure that it also fits into your life, and make sure that you have the buy-in of your family as well, right? Make sure that your family knows that this is important to you. It's important that you have your exercise time, and make sure that everybody's bought in too, so that your family is supporting you and is behind you in that exercise journey and is bought in as well and giving you that time. And you could even get the kids involved and get your spouse involved. I mean, don't do it alone. Obviously, they have to set their own goals and in their own exercise journey, but do it as a family, right? Challenge as a family to get healthier. challenge as a family to eat healthier. And if you're looking to do some sort of nutrition resolution for the next year, the biggest advice and the number one tool I think makes the biggest difference is remove as much processed food out of your diet as possible. Get rid of the microwavable dinners, get rid of all that stuff, anything with preservatives in it. Just try to eat healthy. Try to eat whole foods, healthy foods, and we can even make whole foods unhealthy. But bring it back to the basics, right? Bring it back to the basics. Instead of eating all the processed foods, all the, really sugary substances, all that stuff that we tend to have in our common everyday diet, let's draw it back to real food every day on a plate, right? That would be the number one goal that I think would impact your family and impact your own health journey as well. And you're going to see that your kids will be way healthier, stronger, fitter, faster, the less processed foods that they eat. And so if your kids are in sports, that would be a great step to take for the family. And maybe you can't do it, right? We talked about expectations and reality. Maybe you can't do it every meal, but make the commitment that this year, hey, for breakfast, we're going to get rid of the cereal and we're going to have eggs and whatever, real food for breakfast every morning. And then, if that works out, maybe you go, okay, we're going to make sure that we have lunch, whole foods, real foods every day. And then maybe you can move it to dinner. But let's have an expectation of something that's attainable and hittable for our lives, what we can afford, what we can make sure that we can accomplish. We are going to take a brief time out. When we come back, we are going to wrap up this conversation on the new year, 2023. Ring it in. Get excited. We get to add a 3 to the end of our year. Man, it's gone by quick. But we're going to take this brief time out, and we'll come back and wrap this up.
Thanks for listening to Faith Family Fitness, a presentation of Full Armor Sports Teams. Teamwork is at the core of any successful organization. At Full Armor Sports, led by national champion coach Jason Lupo, a Christ-centered approach to sports fundamentals and fitness has earned his company the respect of athletes and their parents. Full Armor Sports is committed to helping youth in our community experience growth through sports and to strive for improvement and excellence. Further, youth compete as individuals, coming together with a sense of teamwork, camaraderie, and support for one another. At Full Armor Sports, the reality is achievements, failures, wins, and losses eventually fade away. But the bonds team members form through competition evolve into relationships lasting forever. Learn more at fullarmorsports.com.
Welcome back to Faith Family Fitness on 100.7 The Word. Today's topic has been on New Year's resolutions as we ring in 2023. It's New Year's Eve. So exciting. We get to wave goodbye to this year and start afresh the new year. And with the new year, the common saying is new year, new beginnings. Don't love that saying, but hey, it's part of our culture. We set New Year's resolutions. My advice to everybody on this show was start small. Don't try to tackle too much at once. Make it attainable. Make sure it fits in your life. And make sure you have the buy-in of those around you that are going to support you on your journey as well. We also talked about the Daniel fast. We talked about fasting and all that lovely information. If you missed any part of the show, we'll have it on Spotify, Amazon Prime, or Amazon Music, whatever it is, Apple Podcasts, all those things. Check us out at faithfamilyfit.org for information on this show. And if you have kids in Colorado Springs and El Paso County that need a place to call home and coaches in their corner, visit Full Armor, ARMOUR, sportsteams.com for information on phenomenal youth programs in this city. Thank you for joining us this last year, and Happy New Year. See you next year.
This has been Faith Family Fitness with Coach Jason Lupo of Full Armor Sports Teams of Colorado Springs. Join him at the same time next week for Faith Family Fitness on The Word 100.7.